Welcome to another edition of Inside Notre Dame Football presented by Tire Rack. I'm your host, Tony Simeone, joined as always by the coach, Brian Kelly. And Coach, you got the win against Toledo in the home opener, but you said it didn't meet the championship standard you guys expect. What was your message to the team after the game?
Well, first of all, we've said this and we talked about this last week. Winning is still hard. You have a Toledo team that is coming in here with nothing to lose, and it's a veteran, talented team. Now, having said that, 3 turnovers, a pick 6, big play runs, big play passes. It's just not our standard. You can't play championship level football and expect that you're not going to have a difficult day. And we had a difficult day because of that. So, what do? You go back and you look at your preparation, because this is all about how you prepare. It's not about how you play. And we have to prepare better moving forward.
25 wins at home, though, in a row, second longest streak in the country. How much pride do you take in that as a program to have that streak at home?
A great amount of pride. It was very difficult when I got here to win at home, and we had not had that tradition of winning at home. So we've created that tradition. We've created a home field advantage. Those things are in place. Now we have to make sure we protect Notre Dame Stadium when we play. And like I said, we've had our struggles at times, but we find ways to win. And so on the flip side of that, there is an immense amount of pride where our guys, lose the lead with 1 minute and 45 seconds and come back, and 26 seconds later they score a touchdown. So that fight, that grit, that Notre Dame fighting spirit is certainly in them.
Coach, thanks. We'll step aside and take a break and come back after this to break down Notre Dame's 32-29 victory over Toledo. This is Inside Notre Dame Football, presented by Tire Rack. Welcome back to Inside Notre Dame Football, presented by Tire Rack. It's now time for this week's game breakdown with the head coach, Brian Kelly. And Coach, 2 weeks in a row now, opening drive, I think really good for your offense. Jack Cohn was 4 for 4 just like he was in week 1 against Florida State. What'd you like on that opening drive?
Well, again, I think the balance, and I think we played fast. There was some tempo to our offense, and it's probably something that we have to continue to do, because we look really good. We got off to the fast start again like we did against Florida State, but it seems like the middle part is where we seem to bog down a little bit. But, Jack making the right reads, getting some explosive plays. We got the help right out of the gates with a 15-yard penalty on a face mask. Avery Davis makes a nice catch and a run after that, and really got ourselves into a really good flow and a good position offensively right out of the gates.
I know you're trying to limit the big plays. Defense gave up a couple, but they bent and didn't break. Nobody got in the end zone. They didn't allow an offensive touchdown until the fourth quarter. So when the defense was doing that, what'd you like from them that at least kept it to 3s instead of 6s and 7s?
Well, again, we limited big plays. We didn't have the big plays that later kind of haunt us. And so, fundamentally sound, guys being in a good position and forcing them down the field. And a good, as you mentioned, holding them to field goals. We'll take those exchanges because, again, we turned the ball over a few times. They had the sack fumble where we hold them to 3. So our defense did a really good job in that period of time when, again, offensively, we get to a great start, but we don't maintain that momentum.
You start the second quarter leading 7-6, and you go to the freshman, Tyler Buckner. Just talk me through the decision to bring him in, and then what you saw from him, because it seemed like he really injected some life into the offense.
Well, we were backed up, as you remember, and that's a place where you want to rely on your run game. And what Tyler does is he gives us some versatility in the running game. So, you can run the zone, with the read, you kind of open up your playbook a little bit. And so I thought, in talking to Tom Reese, that it was a good time to get Tyler in the game. It proved to be a really good decision because he got us out of that tough territory and ended up marching all the way down the field and getting a big score.
Yeah, on the score, Kyron Williams finally gets loose. Do you think that was a byproduct of Tyler being in the game and that gave him and the offensive line a little bit more of an opportunity to run block?
Yeah, no doubt. You get much more favorable looks because you have to defend the entire width of the formation now. Now you're not just worried about certainly the inside zone play. If he pulls it, he's on the perimeter. So you're just keeping people, I think, at check in terms of not being able to overload one way or the other.
Third quarter starts, and no points actually scored in the third quarter, which I think is a testament to the defense. No offensive touchdowns again until the fourth quarter. A guy that stuck out that I want to hear you talk about is J.D. Bertrand.
Yeah.
He had a big sack in the third quarter. Just what have you seen from him as he's developed here in this year?
Well, consistency. I think more than anything else, the last 2 weeks he's played consistent football. I mean, he's played a lot of snaps, but he's doing his job. And I think when you do your job as one of the 11 players on the field, good things are happening. And what we need to do is we got to get the other 10 guys to do their job consistently, not 70 out of 80 plays. And that's really where we're at right now defensively. We've got guys playing really well for 70, but there's 10 plays in there that we're missing an assignment, not making the correct decision on how to execute a technique. And JD's been really consistent.
So 29-24, your team's trailing with about 90 seconds left. Again, I'm always just curious, the environment on the sideline. You said there wasn't a lot of panic. You're going back to Jack Cohn. What'd you see when you looked at him and sent him back out there for that drive?
Yeah, we've done this before. We work on it every Wednesday. We put about 90 seconds on the clock. We give him one timeout, and you got to go get 7 points. And he's pretty good at it. And we call similar plays, so he was very comfortable with what the play calls were. Made a couple of really good plays.
We'll get a chance to look at the Michael Mayer touchdown that won the game during our Irish Intel segment, but of course everyone talking about the dislocated finger. Just, have you seen anything like that before in your coaching career where someone had to get popped back in and then throw the game winner right after
I'm
that?
sure we've had that before, but under those kind of circumstances, no. That was, that's kind of a made-for-TV movie script. But no, he's a tough kid, and he felt like there was no ill effects, that he could grip the ball fine, and it turned out to be the case.
You guys then go for two. I'd say one of the more adventurous two-point conversions I've seen. They sniffed it out pretty well, it seemed like, and a great freestyle from Avery Davis.
Yeah, they had an overload to the quarterback side, which is kind of unusual. I don't know if they lined up correctly or not, but as the reverse came back, they had two defenders there, and because if one defender takes the quarterback, Avery just can run it in, but they had an overload there. Avery saw it, stopped, came back. The linemen know it's a pass, so they're not going to be downfield. So now it's just a matter of Avery, as a former quarterback and a really good one in high school, makes an easy throw.
So your defense still to come up with one more stop, and they do. Myron Tagovailoa-Amosa makes the big strip sack at the end. To get off the field like that, I know it's been a tough month for him with the sudden passing of his father. For him to come up with that big play, what did that mean for him?
Yeah, I mean, anytime he can cap off a very difficult month with a great play. This is, a young man that's going through a very difficult time, so he can get some satisfaction for a moment and helping a win for his teammates, and that's how he sees it. This isn't about me. This is about winning for my teammates, and that's what makes him a special kid.
Coach, thanks. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at this week's win and this week's edition of Icon. Welcome back to Inside Notre Dame Football, presented by TireRack.com. It's now time to take a closer look at this week's game with this week's edition of Icon.
And for the first time in 2021, here come the Irish. Irish in Toledo territory. And Cohn down the sideline for Michael Mayer, the tight end, who had the big game last week. Picks up where he left off. Second and goal for the 4. Crossing is Mayer in the end zone for a Notre Dame touchdown.
Easy, Mike. Let's go, Mike.
Bradley holds onto it, trying to get away from Tagovailoa-Amosa and will not. And Myron will come up with the stop. Bradley trying to escape, and he's brought down Isaiah Foskey. The pocket collapses, and he's brought down Justin Ademilola. Here is the Notre Dame debut of Tyler Buckner. And Buckner will keep, and Buckner will take off. Good first play in South Bend for Buckner. His pass is complete. In the traffic, Braden Lindsey comes up with it. It's a give to Williams, who gets through, and might go. Kyron Williams down the sideline to the end zone. Notre Dame touchdown.
Hey, Tyler. Boy, I gotta stop here, guys.
27 pressure up the middle is picked up, but not for long, as J.D. Bertrand finished it off. Run play gets nothing, as Notre Dame defense really has picked it up.
This right here, everything we got for this half right now. We don't big on for a reason. We don't let nobody ever come in this house and play with us ever. Big on 2, big on 2. 1, 2, big on!
Quarterback Buckner, he fakes it, he throws it, and it's wide open, and this may go the distance for Tyree. Notre Dame touchdown. First touchdown pass of his Notre Dame career. Let's go! Let's go! Jack Cohn in at quarterback again in a pressure situation. From the 25, Cohn begins with a shot towards Kevin Austin, who goes up and makes a contested catch.
There's a lot going on here, Mike.
Cohn coming over the side, injured his finger.
Yeah, it does look like he might have dislocated a finger.
The athletic trainer popped the finger back in from the 18-yard line. The throw in the middle, Mayer! Touchdown Irish! Michael Mayer!
Reverse.
Give to Williams, give to Avery Davis. They wanted to throw it back. Cohn was covered. Davis goes the other way, and it's a two-point conversion for Williams.
That's where I learned how to do that. See the hill. Texas boy for life.
Let's go up. Let's be smart. Let's do our job.
He's really been a big playmaker for him.
Bradley has it stripped. Bouncing on the ground. Notre Dame recovers. The Irish extend to 25 consecutive home victories.
So JD, you're off to a great start this year. You've led the team in tackles in each of the last 2 games, 3rd in the country in solo tackles. Just what have you been able to do to develop and put yourself in this position this year?
I think the biggest thing that I've done to put myself in this position is just trusting Coach Kelly's process, trusting the Notre Dame process. Obviously you come in and everyone thinks everyone wants to have the Kyle Hamilton career where you come in and play right now, but Notre Dame does a great job developing us and just being able to, as you go on, let the game kind of transitions and slows down. And so just being able to get stronger and learn the game and learn our defense and just going from there, just being able to take any opportunity I have. And I've been given an opportunity this year and just trying to make the most of it.
At the end of the game, you were given the game ball. I just want to ask, anytime you get the game ball, it has to be an amazing emotion. What goes through your head and what was it like to get it after the game in the locker room in front of your teammates?
Receiving the game ball, I mean, it was just an awesome moment. It's kind of surreal. You see it on Twitter when you're a commit, and then even redshirt year, you see guys getting it, and you kind of almost sit there sometimes can that be me? But obviously it was just an awesome moment, and just I was incredibly happy. But obviously I couldn't do that without my teammates, and obviously my coaches and teammates put me in the position to make plays and be able to have the opportunity to receive this ball.
You know, I've heard a lot of people say you're going to come to Notre Dame and you're not going to change Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to change you. Now that you've been here for a while, what's one of the changes that Notre Dame has had an impact on you?
I truly believe Notre Dame's going to change you, just in the sense that the community, just being able to make friends in the short time that I've been here, just within the football team, within other athletes, through the dorms. It feels so much more than just going to college. It really does feel like a family and a community.
What did the alma mater feel like with everyone back in the house?
It's just different. I mean, last year sitting there and you're looking at a couple of students, teachers, family, but this year it's just you can just feel it all. It's a full 360 view.
I know it's early right now, but big game coming up against Purdue next week. What's maybe the biggest key for you guys on the defensive side of the ball to get a win next week against the Boilermakers?
For us to get that win, it's just going to be coming down to execution and making sure we focus on the little details of our defense and the little details of understanding their offense.
JD, thanks for the time.
No problem, appreciate it.
When we come back, we'll go inside the play with Irish Intel, presented by TireRack.com. Welcome back to Inside Notre Dame Football. It's now time for Irish Intel. We're going to go inside some of the big plays from Saturday's win for Notre Dame. Coach, let's look at this one first. This is that 55-yard touchdown pass from Tyler Buckner to Chris Tyree. And let's start with pre-snap. What's he looking at here in the formation?
Yeah, so he's looking at the coverage here, and he sees that he's probably going to get too deep, or this corner is going to fire, because you can see that he's pressed, and they had not pressed into the boundary. So Tyree is going to go in motion. And now the fun starts, because the corner does blitz, which puts now, in this situation, the backside safety's got to get all the way over to help, and he's just not going to catch Chris Tyree. So perfect play call against the defense that you do not want to be blitzing the corner on, because there's no real coverage. You can see right here, it's either the inside linebacker or the backside safety's got to take Chris Tyree. So when Tyree goes in motion, they have to bump this all the way across, and they just don't do a very good job of it.
All right, Coach, we're going to take a look here at one of your rising stars on the defense. J.D. Bertrand picked up a big sack in the second half. Just talk me through this play.
Yeah, so this is really a simple weak side pressure where we're pressuring the back. So the back has protection here, and we know it. So we're blitzing the back, so to speak. And that matchup we like. That back's got to come up and pick up J.D. Bertrand on this. And you can see that's going to be a very difficult matchup for him.
So he's going to blow up the back and pick up the sack on the day. But when we get a second look at this, we're going to see it from behind. This is something I want to ask about because I saw it from him last week against Florida State too. As he approaches the quarterback, his left hand is up. Explain why you coach this way.
Yeah, left hand for a right-handed quarterback. Obviously, getting that hand up is obviously the distracting principle. But many people leave their feet here. We do not leave our feet. We keep running. The left hand goes up in this instance, and he keeps attacking the quarterback. That's just good fundamentals. He's well coached, but he's a guy that follows through with those technical things that make him a really, really good player.
All right, Coach, let's talk through the game-winning touchdown pass. First things first, Jack Cohn dealing with a finger here, had to go get it set back in. Have you ever seen this before?
Yeah, Mike Bean, he's been here over 25 years. He gets his 5 minutes of notoriety. It was awesome for Mike and his family, but he gets the finger set back in, and now we have choice on. This is 4 vertical. We've got the perfect coverage, and Mike Mayer's got a read route here. He's going to read, is the middle of the field open or is the middle of the field closed? If the middle of the field's open, he's going to work off this linebacker and he's going to bend it back into the middle of the field. If it was closed and the safety was there, he would have stayed up the hash. You can see it's open, he bends inside. That's the way you draw it up.
When we come back, we'll wrap up this week's episode of Inside Notre Dame Football, presented by TireRack.com. Welcome back to Inside Notre Dame Football, presented by Tire Rack. I'm your host, Tony Simeone, with head coach Brian Kelly as we wrap things up. Coach, 2-0. I think everyone's happy with that. But you mentioned that your team maybe lacked a little bit of intensity early on in the game against Toledo. So going into the game against Purdue, how will you try to address that and improve it going into that game?
Yeah, I think it's all about routines, right? Let's get back to our routines. We haven't had the routine of, going through our normal Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And, we got back in last week at 4:30 in the morning on a Monday. We really couldn't get into our routine. So get back to our routines and then a little bit more intensity through our repetition and preparation during the week, and pick that up a little bit. I think that's going to help us a lot as we get ourselves closer to game time. And then obviously understanding, we're not playing night games, we're playing in the afternoon. Get yourself mentally ready as you wake up and get closer to game time. So we'll get through all that this week. I think getting into this routine, it'll be really helpful for this team.
You guys are renewing a rivalry with Purdue, always a good matchup between you guys. They're coming off a 49-0 victory over UConn. When you've had a quick look at them on tape, what challenges do they present for you guys?
Well, Bell on offense, Plummer on offense, 2 dynamic players. Plummer is as accurate quarterback as there is in the country. Bell is one of the top wide receivers. He can take the top off of coverages. He's savvy, he's smart. Karlaftis is one of the best. George Karlaftis is one of the best defensive ends, and he's going to be a high draft pick in the NFL. So they have game wreckers. They have guys that you'll have to game plan against, and we haven't really had that, quite frankly. We have some good players that we're going against, but these are guys that you have to game plan against on both sides of the ball.
Coach, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week after Purdue.
Thanks.
All right, that does it for this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Football, presented by Tire Rack.